My fellow students to my screencast of my, uh, I guess, project for 251. It's Ethan, of course, if you haven't figured out by either the title of my video or the author spot up here. What I am going to do for you today is, first of all, show you the data set that I'm working with. So we are using, of course, from Tidy Tuesday, the hockey goals data set from 2020, which consists of 3 different data frames. It has a top 250 data frame, which has every player in the top 250 for career goals, only through 2020. That's okay though, because I don't end up using this, so that's totally okay. And then we also have season level goals and game level goals. So for example, if you want to know like game level goals here, we have all of these variables. I won't use all of them, but I do use a decent amount of them. What it is it's goals for each player and each game, and it's only for players after the 1980 season. And I mean, that's pretty much that for that. I'll show you more when we go into depth here. And then the season goals is kind of the same thing, except now instead of every game, it's every season. So for example, Wayne Gretzky's going to have his 1980 season, and however many goals he had in that season will be in the goals column, assists, so on and so forth. So it's just game and season goals we're looking at here. So with that in mind, let me hop over to my RStudio. Here is where we'll spend, I believe, the rest of my time recording this video. So as you see here, I have the code from the website to get all these. So the game goals right here, I'm going to go ahead and run that. This one will take a little longer because there's going to be 49,384 observations. And then we have season goals, which as I just talked about, is going to have a little less at 4,810. So if we just look into these super quick, again, it'll take a second for it to open up here. There we go. Big file, so it's going to take a little bit. I'm sure screen recording at the same time probably slows it down a tiny bit. So as you can see, it has, in order, we have Alex Ovechkin starting first. So it has, of the 2005 season, game number 1 all the way through, and it has whether he scored a goal, whether not, the type of goals, if there was, his amount of shots, shot percentage. We have that. So we're going to mess with that here for the first example. So what we are going to do is, as you'll see, let's go over here. As you see up here, I kind of have an idea of what I want to do. I wanted to see, if I group, well, first of all, the NHL season comprises of 82 games. It's an 82 game schedule. It's just like the NBA. What I want to do is I want to group them in games of 10. And I know that's not an even number for 82 games, but that's how I wanted to do it for this, keep it simple. So what I'm going to do is I want to find out which group of 10 games throughout the season sees the highest influx of goals scored. So is it the very beginning of the season, games 1 through 10 that see the most goals scored? Is it 11 through 20, 21 through 30, all the way up to 71 through 80? And then there also is one for 81 and 82. So obviously that one's not going to see as much, but another reason why you would see a drop in goals towards the end of the season is not everybody plays every game. So a lot of people have rest, so it's going to be probably more tailored to the first half of the season maybe. So while the back half would be interesting to see, I'm expecting a drop in total goals scored in those group of games. But I'm more interested to see the beginning of the season because usually everybody's playing at the beginning of the season, so that is why. We aren't going to use season goals on this one, but what we are going to do first is we need to run in our library, which is tidyverse. Again, bad practice, as Dr. Vanderplas has said, but for the basics of this screencast, I'm going to use it. What we're going to do first is with game goals, I want to create a new variable in the game goals data set that specifies the game group. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a new data frame on top of this called grouped game goals. And what we're going to do is we're going to take from game goals, we're going to mutate a new column called game group. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a case when function. And so what I'm going to do here is there is in the game goals data set, there is a game num, which stands for the game number in the list here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group game 1 through 10 in group 1, then 11 through 20 in the next group, so on and so forth. So what that's going to look like is for every game number in 1 through 10, that will equal 1. All right, then game num percent and percent 11 through 20 will be 2. and then so on and so forth. What I'm going to do, just to speed it up a little bit, is I'm going to copy this. I got to go up to 9. So it'll be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to quickly go in here. This will be 21 to 30, 31 to 31 to 40, 41 to 50, 51 to 60, 61 to 70, 71 to 80, and then 81 to 82. So this will be 9. Oh, oops. Trying to do 2 things at once. All right, that'll be 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So this will give me that. The one thing I do want to do is there are going to be some games over 82, and the reason for that is they could have been traded mid-season, so they end up playing more games for that new team, or at some points in the season there were more than 82 games. The NHL schedule didn't really get finalized as an 82-game schedule until 1996, so everything before that there may be a few extra games. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this true NA integer like this, and then what that's going to do is that is going to ignore any of the game numbers that are above 82 and just throw them out. So that's what that's going to do. So if we run this, we're going to get a grouped game goals. So now if you look at Alex Ovechkin, who should show up here first, we're going to see here all the way at the end, he has game group 1, game group 2, game group 3. So we have that. Perfect. The next thing we want to do is I want to then find the sum of the goals by game group for every single player. So what we're going to do is we're going to make another data frame called sum grouped game goals. All right. This is going to come from the grouped game goals data frame that we just created. Use a pipe, and then we're going to do group by. The first thing I wanted to illustrate for you guys, group by game group, and then by player. After that, we're going to go to summarize, and what we're going to do is we're going to have a sum goals, so every goal, and then that's going to just be the sum of goals. Pretty simple, just like that. So if I run that, you're going to see there's going to be an override for groups. Don't have to worry about that. We look at where we got sum grouped game goals. We look in here, now we have the game group summarized by the player and the number of goals they had. So if you're curious, for example, Wayne Gretzky in the 4th game group, which would be games 31 through 40, has the most goals in any 10-game group at 133. Interesting. Not surprised to see Wayne Gretzky in the top 5 at all. He's the greatest hockey player of all time, always will be. No one is going to beat that. Mario Lemieux, a solid 2nd place right there. So that is that. The next thing I want to do is I want to group the sum grouped game goals data set by game group. And then what I want to do is calculate the sum of the sum goals that we just created here for each group. So that's basically going to take every single player that is in group 1, it's going to take all of those and add them up. And then every player in group 2, and every player in group 3, so on and so forth. So this will be sum grouped goals, and I just call this one final, using the sum grouped goals. Pipe that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to group by game group, and then we are going to summarize the total goals, which is the sum of sum goals, just like this. What that's going to do is that is going to give us everything by group. It may take a little bit to run, which that is okay. It did not run. Let's see why. Total goals not found. Oh, I think it's this one right up here. Summarize. Let's see here. Total goals. Oh, that's because this is supposed to be an equal. There we go. So summarize total goals equals sum goals. You're going to see a lot of problem solving in here probably as well. So we run that. It comes through as sum games group. So it's going to be this one that's here with 10 observations for each group. So here we go. We have the game groups 1 through 9. Remember, 9 is the 81st and 82nd game. And then this 10th one is everything extra. Why there's only 6, I couldn't tell you, but either way, we're throwing those out. So now we can see a list here of the total goals for each game group. So what we're going to do next is using a chart, using ggplot. I want to illustrate what this looks like, just, to show kind of a good chart, nice way to make a chart that I've always made that I feel like has always been pretty strong for me. So what we're going to use is we're going to use ggplot, but because that's in tidyverse, we don't have to load that. And so the chart is going to display the total number of goals scored within each game group using this group that we just have. And so what we're going to start with is a ggplot like this. And then we have ggplot for a column. The data is sum grouped games final. And then the AES, we have X equaling game group, Y equaling total goals. And after that, we have a fill, which will be the sum. Oh, hold on, don't want to put quotations there. The sum of grouped games final, and I want specifically the game group. Now, the reason why I'm giving the fill to each individual group is not to, I don't need you guys, it just adds color to the plot, so it's not just a basic black plot, just adds color. The colors don't have any specific meaning other than differentiating between the groups. And the color here I'm setting is black. This is going to give an outline to each box, so it just kind of helps them stand out a little more. Next thing I'm going to do is I have 9 groups. I want to make sure that each tick on the x-axis has its own number. So how I do that is I use scale x continuous, and then what I do is I have the breaks equals, and it's a sequence of 1, 9, and 1. So it's telling me it's going to go from the first part in the x-axis to the 9th, all by 1. So we have that, and then what we're going to do is we have limits. I forgot, I got to have this in parentheses like that. And so now we have limits equals C 0 to 10. So that's telling me the limits of where it's going. I may change this to 1 after a little bit, but we'll see. Then the next thing I want to do is for the y-axis, I want it to look neat, and I want it to show every goal from, or the y-axis, I want to go from 0 to 3,000 all by 500, just as a nice, easy way to do it. So we're going to go scale y continuous. And then in here again, breaks equals sequence of 0 to 3,000 by 500. So we have that. And then the limits is, again, C equals 0 to 3,000. But instead of just straight 3,000, I'm going to do 3,050. And you'll see why in a little bit. And then I'm going to expand it a little bit too, just to make it a little neater, give it more space from the borders of the plot. And so now we have that set up. The next thing I want to do is I'm adding this geom text. This is why I said I'm going to put this at 350, or 3,050. The geom text is going to put text right above each bar plot, or right above each column plot. That way you can, you don't have to guess exactly what the number is. It shows it right above it in a nice, clean fashion, and you don't have to worry about trying to, assume which one may has a little more than the other. It's just easily put. So we're doing the sum grouped games goals final. Then AS is game group, and then Y equals total goals plus 80. The reason why it's plus 80 is because if I just left it at total game goals, the text would be right across the top of the bar plot, and it would be hard to read. So we bump it up 80 spots on the y-axis. It allows it to look like it's hovering right above the bar plot, so it looks super nice. And the label is going to be total goals, not total gals, total goals. After that, I want the size to be 4, so size equals 4. The color will just be black, and then I've always liked to use a certain font. So for this in geom text, you have to use family, and I use Courier like that. All is done there. Now we go on to the labels portion. So we have labs. The title is going to equal total goals by game group. The subtitle is going to equal since the 1980s season, just to give a little more clarity in what's going on here. I always include a caption in my plots. Again, this is totally optional, but I just do it anyway. So it's going to be R for data science, Tidy Tuesday, as it shows right here, just to be nice. And then the chart is by Ethan Peterson. Do that. the X equals game group, Y equals total goals, and then that is it for that portion. Next thing I do is I do a kind of a lot in the theme section. I like to make the charts stand out and make them look nice, so that is exactly what I'm going to do. So we go in here to theme, and we do plot title equals element text, then hjust equals 0.5. That way it puts it in the middle of the chart. Size equals 20. The family equals courier. Face equals bold. And color equals black. So we do this. If I can get that done there. Oh my goodness. There we go. So we have that. And then we're going to have a plot subtitle as well, which is pretty much the same thing you'll see here, except the only thing I'm going to change is I'm going to make this size 12 and this say subtitle. Then we're going to do this again for the plot caption. And you know what? I just realized this is going to be a dot like this. There we go. So plot caption is going to be much smaller since it's at the bottom of the chart. We're putting it down like that. Everything else stays the same. Except I don't bold the subtitle or the caption, so we can drop that down. After that, what I do is I make sure there's no legend on the plot because there's no need for it. So I do legend position equals none, and then just for safekeeping, to make sure everything stays as courier, I do text equals element text family courier. Next, we go on to the plot background itself. So the plot background equals element rect, fill equals white. Make sure it's like that. Then we have the panel background. This just ensures that everything is going to be the color that I want. Then we have the panel grid major Y. So we have panel grid major Y. What that's going to do is I'm going to do this. This is going to be element line, and it's going to be color equals gray 90. I want it to just barely show, but not be invisible or super obvious at all. Then panel grid minor Y. This one's just going to be blank. I don't want anything here, so it's going to be element blank. And then same thing for panel grid major Y, or X and Y. So this is going to be major X and minor X, just like that. So I have that down. The next thing I'm going to do is I want the axis line. So we're going to do axis line equals element line equals, or not equals, sorry, color equals, and then white. And then after that, we have the panel border, which this one is element rect. And then we do color equals black. And then I have the fill equals nothing. I don't want it to fill into anything. And then the line width equals 1, because I like it to be a certain width. After that is left, we have the axis titles, and then we are done. So, for example, axis title X equals element text color equals gray 15, size equals 15, face equals bold. So we have that. Go ahead and copy this, because now are we going to do axis title Y, which is going to be the exact same thing, and then axis text X. What we're going to do is drop this down to 12, and then we don't want it to be bold, and then axis text Y, same thing, down to 12 and not bold. So if I typed everything in here correct, this should give us a chart. There we go, I noticed that. Let's go ahead and see if this works. That is the goal, of course. Already pushing 20 minutes, and the first thing I missed here is breaks. There we go. So let's go ahead and run this through, and it's going to produce a final result that is not correct. So there is a fill in here somewhere that is not correct. Gotta see if I can find that. Fix the following fill mappings. Fill. I think it's up here. Just double checking here. I'm not exactly sure why that doesn't work. Let's go ahead and try to get rid of game group, see if that fixes it. If not, and then some final game group. Try that again. Maybe it'll work then. If it doesn't, then I will just throw it out for some reason. Okay, so we're not going to have any color. That's okay. I wish I could, but for some reason, in order to save time, I'm just going to go on with that. So as a final result, which will show up here in a quick second, we're going to get this nice looking chart that shows the total game goals by game group, and that shows group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the extra 9. We have the total goals here on the right side, and then as I showed hovering just above, the game or the total goals by those game groups. So if there was color, it would look a little nicer, but that is okay. It looks pretty nice. Next thing we're doing is we are moving on to our next thing. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to see if there was a certain type of goal that is scored more by position. So that would be a power play goal, a shorthand goal, and then regular and game-winning goals. So how we're going to do that is I'm going to make another chart like this. But first, I need to use season goals, but create another one called position normalized goals. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a percentage so I can get a normalized amount so I can see what percentage each position scores which type of goal the most. That way it's normalized so you can compare it, because a defenseman is not going to score as many goals as a right wing or left wing. That way it gives us a better playing ground here. So what we're going to do is we're going to filter the position percent in percent, and then we're going to do C for center, LW for left wing, RW for right wing, and D for defenseman. That is going to be that, because if we look in here at season goals, now we're working on the other one, it does show a position here, and there's 4 of them. There is a lot of people that don't have a position listed, so they are being thrown out, and you'll see why in a second. And then we do group by position, and then we need to summarize, and then we're going to do summarize by total power play goals, which equals the sum of goals power play, which is in that season goals data frame. And then this na.rm equals true is getting rid of any NAs that exist, because obviously I cannot use those. And I'm going to copy and paste this. I need that there though. So we have that, and I'm going to do this we have power play goals, and then we have shorthand goals short-handed, and then we have total regular goals, which is just goals even when both sides have the same amount of players on. And then we have total game winning goals, which is goals game winner. Same thing, NA equals RM to true. And then finally, that way we can do the math. We have to have a total goal count. So total goals equals the sum of goals, NA.RM equals true. Because all of these power play shorthand goals will also fall into the goals section right here. This just specifies what type of goals they had. So moving on, after that, we can do another pipe, because now we need to, I'm going to close that first. So after closing that, like that. After closing that, now we are going on to a mutate, and this is going to be what we're going to do is we're going to do power play goal percentage, and what that's going to be is it's going to take the total power play goals divided by total goals times 100, and then we're going to copy this all the way through like this. So then we have shorthand goal percentage, which is total shorthand goals, and then we have our regular goal percentage, which is total regular goals divided by total goals, and then game winning goal percentage, which is total game winning goals, like that, times 100. So then we have that. And then what I'm going to do is I just want those. So I'm going to do select. And I'm going to ask for the position, total goals, power play goal percentage, shorthand goal percentage, regular goal percentage, and game winning goal percentage. So this should hopefully work for us here. Let's go ahead and see. After that, we're going to ask it to print the position normalized goals just to see how it looks. So if you run this, perfect. Then we have by position, we have their total goals and the percentage of goals they have by goal type. So what I'm going to do is I want to create a chart, like a cluster chart essentially, that is going to show, side by side the type of goals and the percentage there. First thing I have to do is I have to reshape this from wide data into long data. All right. So if you look at position normalized goal, this is long data. I want it in, or wide data. I want it in long data. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do long normalized goals, which is going to take position normalized goals. We're going to pivot longer. And then the columns are going to be power play, goal percentage. Well, I don't need them in quotes, so 1 second there. Power play goal, shorthand goal percentage, regular goal percentage, and game winning goal percentage, like that. After we have that part, we're using a comma, and the names are going to go to goal type, and then the values to goal percentage. So if we run this, we're going to get a new long normalized goals that has exactly what we want. The centers with their types of goals and the percentage all the way down to the other positions. What we're going to do again, make another chart to show this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this to help save some time and just adjust what I need out of this. So I'm going to go back down here, copy this in. First thing we need to do is we need to take this and make this long normalized goals. The X is going to be their position, and the Y is going to be their goal percentage, and the fill here is going to equal goal type. Don't need that in quotes. Goal type, just like this. And then I don't need this color down here, but what I do need to do is well, first of all, this is going to be all in here. I'm going to adjust this just because I did it a little differently in my notes. So we have that, and then we have a geom call. What this is doing is it's positioning in a dodge. Position equals dodge. Oh, whoops, made that a little smaller. We'll get it. There we go. And then the scale X, this time it's going to be from 0 to 100 because it's a percentage, and I think going from 0 to 100 better shows instead of inflating numbers. We're going to go by 20, and then this limit is 0 to 100, and then this one is where we will expand again, equals C 0.1 on one way, 0.1 the other way. And then we don't need to worry about scale, this is scale Y, excuse me, not scale X. And we don't have to worry about scale X because this is going to be by position. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to do geom text, again, showing the percentages right above. So this time we can do a little different. We do AES, and then the label equals, we're going to round it to the goal percentage by 1, like that. And then we're going to position it. We're going to have a position dodge. Dodge. The width is going to be 0.9, so it changes its position a little bit. The vjust will equal negative 0.5. Let's give it a little more height, and then the size equals 3. And that's kind of all for that. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to get rid of this geom text. I could have just used that one, I guess, now looking back on it. And we're going to change the names here. We have goal type percentages by position. Then we're going to have the positions here. So we have center, defenseman. I don't know why this one isn't appearing in a thing. Oh, I know why. Center, defenseman, left wing, and right wing. Those are the positions. Right wing and left wing are towards the front, centers are in the center, and defensemen are back towards the goalie, as you could probably assume. And then caption is the exact same. The X here is going to be position. The Y is going to be goal percentage. And then one thing I'm going to add here is a fill, which equals goal type, because I'm going to give each goal type an own color, and I'm trying to do this colorblind friendly, so I hope this works out well. The next thing we need to do is a scale fill manual, and then we're going to do values equal C. We have power play goal percentage equals blue, and then we have shorthand goal percentage equals orange. And then we have regular goal percentage equaling gray. And then game winning goal percentage equaling, I have this one as gray 20, so it's a little darker to see. So we have that. Then after that, I need to put the labels equals C, so we have power play goal. So the legend that I will have will be much easier to read, a little cleaner. It will equal power play goals, and then shorthand goal percentage equals shorthand goals, and then regular goal percentage equals even strength goals, and then game winning goals or goal percentage equals game winning goals. Because I like punctuation, I gotta make sure that's right. So we have that, we'll add a plus. We get down to the theme, which not a lot is gonna change. I'm just gonna bring this down to an 18 because the legend is gonna be a little bigger. That's gonna be a 10. And I believe everything else is almost the same. So we can leave that. Yes, so that should be good. I forgot to include an axis title Y. I might want to do that. Did I forget that up here? I did. So let me quickly add this up here like this. So if I rerun this, then that axis title is going to look much nicer. There we go. Okay. Let's come back down here. If we run this, hopefully everything is correct. There won't be any errors. There we go. That's the first thing. First of all, there we go. Forgot my plus sign. So then we continue through here. Everything should look well. Then we have an issue. The colors are not what they should be. I'm not sure why. Blue, gray, orange, gray. Because the fill is gold type. So I'm not sure why the fill is not working. Because I'm pretty sure everything else should be correct. What is it saying here that's wrong? Did I forget to put that somewhere? No. Let's run that one more time and see if that, there we go. So now we have our fixed thing, except now I want the legend position to be there. So legend position right. And now if we look at this, we can see our game-winning goals in dark gray, power play goals in blue, even strength spelled wrong in, there we go, even strength goals spelled wrong, but in the color gray, and then shorthand goals in orange. So as you see, defensemen do not score even strength goals as much, which makes sense because usually on the backfield. They do score more on power plays, which is interesting. Probably because usually when a penalty happens, the players that get taken out are typically in the front side, so it leaves the wide open areas for defensemen to come in and try to shoot goals. And then there's not much change in game-winning goals or shorthand goals as expected. Shorthand goals are more scored by the center and defenseman just because, these guys usually get taken out for some penalty time. And these guys are higher on the game-winning goals, typically because they're in there to score the game-winning goals. So that is that. We have just a few more things. The next thing I want to do is a little exploratory data analysis. So the one thing I wanted to see is I wanted to see if I could do a regression, see if there's a positive or negative correlation with, if penalty minutes impact your points, your goals, your shots, and your plus minus in the game, as well as if you guys win. So how we do this is in the game goals, I want to create a column called game goals win, or I want to change it, where there's an if-else. If the game goals outcome equals a win, it is 1. If not, it is a 0. So after that, we'll go ahead and run that. That runs perfectly. So our model for model penalty, is a linear model regression for penalty minutes. And then that is our DV, and then our IVs are going to be points plus goals plus shots plus minus and plus win. So then our data equals, we're going to do an NA omit, so it doesn't include any NA, so it doesn't break it from the game goals data frame here. So we're going to run that. So now we have a model penalty right there. And then simply all we do is a summary of model penalty. And so we get our result here. So what this is saying is the R squared is not very high at all, so it doesn't tell the whole story, obviously. But what it does tell us here is that for winning, there is a negative correlation, a statistical significance for a negative correlation between winning and penalty minutes, which makes sense. If you have more penalty minutes, it means you're not in the game. It means your team has a chance to lose because you guys are usually uneven strength. That's why you guys would be shorthanded. The other team would be in a power play situation. Also significant is plus minus. It is also positive, which is interesting. So what that's saying is the more penalty minutes you have, the chances are your plus minus is higher, which is interesting because typically I guess you're not on the court, so if your team is going good at the time, that works. Goals and shots were not significant, which I thought was interesting, but points was. And points are your goals plus assists. So obviously, it is saying here a negative correlation. So if you have fewer minutes played because you have penalty minutes, then your points are going to go down, and that is significantly significant. So I thought that was kind of fun doing a little regression model to see how that works. So I have two more things I want to show you. I'm at 37 minutes. I've been keeping track, so I'm going to try to go through these relatively quick, but also you understand what's happening. I wanted to work with strings a little bit, and the nice thing about the game goals data frame is it has a player list here, so I can use those strings in the players, if it'll load here, to find out something kind of fun. First of all, I'm going to get rid of these so I can see my screen a little better here. What I wanted to do is I thought a fun little analysis, little discovery experiment to do would be like how many vowels are in each player's names, and then figure out which group of players with a certain amount of vowels in their name score the most goals. So is it players with two vowels in their name that score the most goals, or is it players up to 6 vowels that score the most goals? So with this, using stringer, I gotta get in stringer. So after stringers run in, then we're gonna make a game goals vowel count, which is gonna go from game goals. And what that's gonna take is it's gonna mutate a new column called vowel count. This is where stringer comes into play because we're going to use string count. If I can type. And then what we're going to do is we are going to lower, God, I cannot spell, string count. We're going to do 2 lower in the player column. And then what we're going to do is we want it to lower all of the A, E, I, U's, and then I'm including Y as a vowel. That can be, I know there's going to be a certain way to do it where some letters aren't vowels, some Y's aren't vowels, some are, but just for the sake of this, there are going to be vowels, every single one. And then we're going to group by, if I can do this here, grouping by player and then vowel count. After we do that, we are going to summarize the total goals, which is the sum of goals. And then after it does its summary, we're going to drop the groups so it just shows up as normal again. So when we run this, we'll do print game goals vowel count. Well, first of all, that doesn't work. I got to do this, run this through, and then now we see the most vowel. We got vowel counts for Alex Ovechkin, who has 5, A-E, O-E, and I, and Brett Hull has 2 because of his E and the U. So that's fun. So we know that. But a little further, I want to find out the player with the most goals for each individual vowel count. So who has the most career goals with 5 vowels in their name? Who has the most career goals with 2 vowels in their name? How we do that is we're just going to make a top players 5 vowel count, which is going to come from the game goals vowel count. We are going to group by. We're going to group by vowel count, and then we're going to utilize slice max. And what that's going to do is we're going to have it do an order by equals total goals, and I just want the number 1 player from that. So then we're going to do top print top players by vowel counts. So we run this, then run that. Now we know who has scored the most goals by vowel count. So Brett Hull with 2 vowels has scored the most at 741. 3 vowels is Jeff Carter, then Jaromir Jagr at 4, Wayne Gretzky at no surprise with 5 vowels, Teemu Selänne with 684 at 6 vowels, and the most Mario Lemieux at 690 for that. 41 minutes now. We are going to move on to our last thing, and the last thing I want to do is find out. If you go back up here to the top, I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it somewhere in here. Maybe I left it out. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to see by year group, which group scores the most, 30 goal seasons or 40 goal seasons, what age group does. And what I want to do is I want to do them in groups of 5, simply starting with the youngest year going all the way up to the oldest year. So it's not going to be nice and neat like 20 to 25-year-olds, because there's some 17 and 18-year-olds in the NHL, so it's going to go like 18 to 23, so on and so forth, all the way up to the oldest. And I want to find out which age group has scored the most or has the most, like 30 goal seasons, 40 goal seasons, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new thing called player season goals, and it's going to be game goals 2. And what's going to be is we're going to group this by player and by year. After that, After that, we're going to go in here and summarize the total goals by the sum of goals. And again, we're just going to drop the summary after that, or the groupings. So that's going to give us the player season goals. Oh, hold on. I didn't make a game goals 2 because I forgot. I need to separate the age, because in game goals, the age shows the year followed by the day in the hyphenated. So I want just the year. So what I'm going to do is make the game goals 2. Sorry, I was looking off my notes. Game goals, and then I'm going to use separate commands. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the age, and I'm going to separate it into year and day, just like this. And the separate, where it's going to separate that, is the hyphen. So when I run this, it's going to give me game goals 2, just like this. And now we have a year and a day, and all I care about is this year column. So now that I have that, I go in here, run player season goals 2, and then we get this list here. So we have Alex Ovechkin by year and his total goals. So now we can do the next part here. So what happens next is we're going to convert the year column to a numeric. Otherwise, it will not work when doing next part of my thing. So player season goals year equals, or not, get as numeric player season goals year. So that just makes it numeric. I don't have to worry about it in the future. So this is where I'm going to be able to filter the seasons where a player scored the X amount of goals or more. So basically I'll have to do this manually, but it'll be xth goal threshold. And so first we'll look at 30 goal seasons like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have xth goal seasons from the player season goals. We're going to filter their total goals as greater than or equal to the xth goal threshold. So it's only going to look at players who scored at or above that third. So we have the 30 goal seasons, just like that. So we run that, and we're going to see we have 314 observations above 30 goals. But what I want to know is I want to know the age groups. So what we're going to do is we're going to do xth-goal seasons. And we're just going to re-edit this one, so it's going to be the same thing. But what we're going to do is we're going to mutate an age group. What the age group is going to be is we're going to cut into the year. And what it's going to do is we're going to sequence it by the minimum year and the max year by 5. Simple as that. So that's the way it's telling us. It's going to start with the lowest year, go by 5, up to the max year. And then it's going to include the lowest, which equals true, and right equals false, just like this. So then if we run this, which should work, sweet, that is updated. And the last thing we want to do is age group counts. This is where we will adjust our xth-goal threshold. We have xth-goal seasons. Oh, whoops, did not mean to do that. Whew. There, xth-goal seasons. Then we're going to group by age group, and then summarize the count of xth-goal seasons by n, just like that. So we're going to get the age group counts, and then we're just going to print the age group counts like this. So if we run through this all, at the end, there is no summarize because I spelled it wrong. So we run through this again. We're going to get the final results for the most 30 goal seasons. Players aged between 23 and 28 have had the most 30 goal seasons, which makes no surprise. They're usually in their prime around there, followed by 28 to 33, which is also true because they're right around their prime. And there's one NA. I couldn't explain to you why. I guess one player didn't have a age listed. But maybe we could change this to 40 goal seasons. So then if we run that and see who's had the most 40 goal seasons, we see again, it's that 24 to 29. The value's changed because no 18-year-old has had a 40 goal season. That way it fluctuates nicely with it. So with that, 19 to 24 has had more than 29 to 34, which is actually kind of interesting because 29 to 34 is kind of the tail end of the prime. And I suppose 19 to 24 is the beginning of the prime. So then we continue up, we'll go to 50 goals. And we run through this. I think, okay, no, I got to redo that. Let's just run it through the whole thing. Running through the 50 goals, only people between 19 and 29 years of age have had 50 goal seasons, and most of them have been 24 to 29 years old, which is no surprise, once again, in the middle of their prime. 60 goal seasons, we're going to see much less just because it's very uncommon. We've got 22 choices, 20 to 25 and 25 to 30. Interestingly enough, the 20 to 25s have scored more than 25 to 30. Usually the 25 to 31 range is your prime, typically. So that's an interesting find right there, is that's like that. I think there's been a 70-goal season. Let's find out. There's been 9, all from 20 to 25 years old, and I'm willing to bet it was Wayne Gretzky, but I cannot confirm that for you right now. Actually, I could do that. So what I could do is I could go to total goals. Almost all Wayne Gretzky. We got 9 right here. So Mario Lemieux, Brett Hull, Jari Kurri, Wayne Gretzky. Mostly Wayne Gretzky there in the top for 70-goal seasons. Pretty impressive. 80-goal seasons? Why not? Let's see what it looks like. As you can see, you can just run through these. There's been 3, age 20 to 25. If we look at this, go back to this, 80-goal seasons. For some reason, there's been 4. This shows 3, so there's 1 missing. I'm interested in that. I don't know why it doesn't show him. But anyway, that is the end of my presentation. Just approaching 49 minutes. I know it's supposed to be approximately 45. I hope over is okay. But kind of going back to what I touched on, I wanted to find, is there a certain group of games that every 10 that see an uptick in goals? I showed you that first off. There's a certain position, score more power play goals versus regular goals versus regular or shorthand goals, and I showed you that with the cluster chart. And then what age group does the most xth-goal seasons, or what age group has the most xth-goal seasons, and the X was either 30, 40, 50, 60, etc. The topics I covered group by and summarized a good amount. I hope that I tried to create good charts for you, including that last one that was, colorblind friendly. I hope it was in the end. Some exploratory data analysis. I didn't do any box plots, but I made that regression that I hope was, understandable to you guys. And then last but not least, I was working with strings, and that was where I messed with the vowel count to see which group of vowels, which players in which group of vowels have scored the most goals. That's all I've got for you. This is my first take. I hope it was good. And I'll see you guys all in class on Thursday.